And then I was like, so what is Jesus wearing? And then you just see her little eyes, and it's just like looking up and down at a person. And she goes, well, he's wearing, looks like a white suit. It's like a dress. He has thorns around his head. And she does like the motion with her hands around his head. And he has a red ribbon.
This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God, those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. We see his hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention and inviting us into a closer relationship. And here's where we share these great encounter stories with angels, Jesus, divine interventions, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. A lot of times I talk about the songs bubbling up. Don't have a song playing in my head right now. I have a prayer which can be sung. For the sake of his sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world. It's from the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Well, we got that back in the 30s when Jesus appeared to St. Faustina. She died at age 33, had a lot of health issues, had the stigmata, had the wounds of Christ on her body. Amazing story. Lived in Poland, and she got to that point in her life, and she writes about it, how she got to that point, and this is where we're all supposed to go, and it's kind of hard to get there. She got to that point where, Jesus, I don't get this. I don't understand this. I don't know why you're doing this and not that. But I trust you. I trust in you. Whatever, you're God, I'm not. And whatever it is, you see the whole picture and I don't. You have all the puzzle pieces. I only have one. And she got to that point. And I don't know about you. I find it a little challenging at times because it's obvious what seemingly God should do. And he doesn't. And he does this instead of that. And you shake your head. But she got to that point where it was just, Jesus, I trust in you. Who else am I going to trust, right? So here's Sarah gets a hold of me. What you're about to hear happened the day before she sent me her text initially just to say, hey, here's what's going on. And so we had this conversation recently.
Hello?
Well, guess who?
Hi, Trapper. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Sarah? And it's about her daughter. She's now 6.
She ended up having brain surgery. She looked at me and she was like, why would God do this to me?
Let's go there, okay? Let's talk to Sarah in Ohio.
So our daughter, Marin, she is our second oldest, and our only girl, she was named after Mary, a version of Mary. So our oldest is Joseph, and then we have Marin. We didn't want to do Mary because that would be a little much.
a little too much Holy Family there. Okay.
Too much Holy Family to yell at Joseph and Mary every day. It just didn't seem right. So Marin she's always been kind of our like little rainbow child, like just full of, just bright blue eyes, just full of like rainbows and unicorns and light and just so angelic in a way. And like hugs and kisses, just lovey, 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 lovey to everyone that she meets. So even in pictures that we have taken of her, people would point out like there's a rainbow like around her a lot of the times. Anyway, so Marin ended up starting to get really sick in right after we had moved in that summer of 2022. She started having horrible, like unnatural, like mood changes and mood swings, and then really terrible headaches and migraines. And I was like mama bear trying to figure this out, and you have to go through so many steps. It's just terrible to just try to get some answers. And they found it's called a Chiari malformation, which is her brain stem it's almost like the back of your skull is almost like too small for your brain. So part of your brain actually pushes down into the spinal canal, and it can be it causes horrible migraines and pain, but it can also be super dangerous because it'll block the spinal fluid in your spine, and which could eventually, if not treated, lead to paralysis. She ended up having brain surgery, and that was actually a year ago, basically exactly.
Were they trying to give the brain more room? What were they trying to do? So that what they actually have to do, they had to like essentially like reshape the skull. Thank God we just found out everything looks amazing. She's been doing so great. Wow. It was life-changing. Isn't it amazing what they can do? Isn't it amazing?
Oh my gosh. I just if it weren't for that, we wouldn't have had our little girl. It's
like someone gets born 50 years ago. Sorry.
I know. I know, it's insane.
Okay.
So Marin, she was seeing rainbows, but prior to that, she had always been like kind of surrounded by like rainbows and pictures and things like that. So then one day she's like, well, I'm seeing them inside of my school all the time. I was like, oh, that's weird. It's interesting. Then, sorry. To go back to the surgery, this is a cool kind of God moment. We were in recovery, horrible recovery. Any brain surgery, I'm sure, is not great, but this was like, I've never seen, I could just feel her pain. It was horrible. We were in the hospital for a week, and then the recovery itself took months and months. But we were laying there, poor thing. And it was probably day 2 or 3. And she said to me, she looked at me and she was like, why would God do this to me? And I am not even joking. Not even 10 minutes later, a priest comes into our room, making his rounds. Just out of the blue, didn't call him, nothing. And I said, well, I'm glad you're here. We would like to talk to you about why God would do something like this, like put someone through pain. And he explained it in a way that a 5-year-old would understand, how everything good, a lot of good things have pain involved, and there'll be something good to come from this. And it was just beautiful. So talk about timing.
Perfect timing. Yeah. Just to have somebody there, just someone,
a priest randomly. I didn't call him.
Yeah. That's why I always say, what good could possibly come from, nailing somebody to a cross? What possible good could come from something so horrific? Well, only everything, only the gates of heaven being opened up. So or what good could come from all that pain and delivering a baby? Well, the baby, it's just
the baby.
Where there's suffering, there is love. Where there is suffering, there is always love. And it's just hard sometimes to find it and see it. And
absolutely.
It's the hardest thing to explain. It really is. That is the one area where even theologians say, you know what? All those who don't believe there's a God because what God would allow this because of suffering, that's always the one that's the most difficult. Suffering is just very, very difficult until, again, you realize who the ruler of this world is, the devil. Then it makes some sense. Yeah, but God has final say. Yes, he does, and he can do something with the pain, and we just don't see the whole picture. We just don't.
Right. And it really takes leaning on him and really giving yourself to him to understand a lot of things. So that was just a big question from a little girl, 5 years old. Why would God do this to me? And it was just so profound. And a priest happened to walk in. Oh man. So moving forward, she started telling me she was seeing rainbows in a lot of places. One time what really caught my attention was we were just sitting, reading a book on the couch, and there were no like abnormal lights or anything coming into the room. We were basically against a plain wall. And she goes, Mom, what is that? And I was like, what? She's like, look at the little rainbow. And she's pointing just to the bare wall. I was like, I don't see anything. She's like, oh, there's a blue one. There's a red one or a pink one. She starts naming all these little color. I guess the best way you can describe them are like little tiny color, like caterpillars. And she starts counting them because I'm like, how many are there? She starts counting them. She lost count, and I was like, oh my goodness. She's counting them up the wall, on the ceiling.
And they're not always there. I take, or is she always?
No. This is so random. This is like absolutely run of the mill. We could be eating dinner, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's, you have color all around you. Or, oh, look, there's some orange balls dancing outside in the sunlight. It is quite interesting. And these little rainbow caterpillars started playing with her. She's giggling, laughing. They were jumping in her sleeve. She's trying to catch them. They jumped on my husband. And then they just disappeared. The whole thing was like a minute to 2 minutes. And then I was like, that was very unusual. So my friend happened to come over, that day after or whatnot. And I was like, Marin, tell her about the little rainbow things that you saw. And they start talking, and then I leave the room and I come back in, and my friend's like did Marin tell you about the angel she saw in her closet? I was like, no, she did not. And Marin proceeded to describe a beautiful, glowing pink. And this is this is not a child that is like going out of her way to get attention or anything. She's very like kind of soft spoken. She started describing how she saw an angel that was pink and bright and glowing in her closet. And she wasn't scared at all. And it was beautiful. And she couldn't tell the face, but then it just disappeared. And I just didn't really know what to say. What do you say?
And why in the closet? It's like, okay.
I couldn't tell you. Just, I guess, in her room.
Wardrobe change, angels. They're just, the angels look in the closet all the time going, again? I don't know. Okay.
And then she started to get kind of scared. And she started saying stuff like, almost like, you need to sleep with me. Our shadows angels too. And that's when I was like, kind of like, okay, like I need to call like a doctor. I want to investigate this. Like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if this girl, is seeing or hearing things and I'm not like fully looking into it. But
at that time, if I can just interject, shadows. So she's starting to see the darker element.
Right. And that's when this kind of profound moment came to be. Because when she started saying stuff about shadows or kind of being scared at night, because she was almost covering her ears, like she was hearing things too. And that's when I seriously said one of the biggest prayers of my life. I just out loud, I wasn't with her. I was giving my other son a bath, and I was out loud. I was just talking in the bathroom, and I said, I named every single, I said, God, Jesus, Mary, all grandparents, relatives, anyone who knows and loves Marin and who knows and loves us, like anyone who can hear me, I am asking you to surround Marin in love and light and safety, and keep whatever, if there's anything negative with whatever's happening with her, keep it away. Please keep her safe. And it was just a very like, I will do anything you can. I'm begging you, please, Lord, like, please help my little girl. Please keep her safe. The day after that, this was very recently. This was the start of Holy Week. That's when I emailed you, I literally emailed you the next day because I was like, oh my gosh. So it's the start of Holy Week, and we are making dinner in the kitchen. It's myself, my mom, and Marin, and I'm sitting with Marin at the kitchen table. My mom is cutting up potatoes or something, and on the counter is a little unicorn made out of soap. So Marin and I had made it's like a little kit, like a little soap kit, and you make it into the shape of a unicorn. So I made the joke. This is, kind of a funny joke. I think it is. I didn't want to offend anyone, but I'll tell it to you anyway. I said, wouldn't it be funny if we made a lot of those little unicorn soaps and handed them out to friends and said, Jesus washed away the sins of the world. Now go wash away yours. Happy Easter.
I think it's humorous. That's me.
And then next thing you know, Marin goes, there's Jesus. And we're just like, huh? She goes, there's Jesus. And when my mom and I just look at each other, we're like here? She's like, right there. And she points to the wall right in front of her. Well, on that wall, there actually is like it's a kid's drawing of Jesus. And then right above that is a kid's drawing of Mary. So Marin had done the one of Mary, and then my younger son had done the one of Jesus. And so my mom walks over, she goes, Jesus right here, like pointing to the picture. And Marin goes, no, it's Jesus. And my mom puts up her arm, like she's putting her arm around someone. And she goes, oh, do I have my arm around Jesus? And Marin just goes, no, Mumsy, that's what she calls her. No, Mumsy, Jesus is way taller than you. And then my mom and I kind of look at each other. I was like, and like, huh. And then I was like, so what is Jesus wearing? And then you just see her little eyes, and it's just like looking up and down at a person, like, but it's at a wall basically. And she goes, well, he's wearing looks like a white suit, but it doesn't have, it's like a dress, and he has thorns around his head. And she does like the motion with her hands around his head. And he has a red ribbon. I was like, wow, that's very specific. And like, we are just dumbfounded. We're looking at each other, my mom and I. And then I was like, is he saying anything to you? And then Marin's like, no, he's not. He's just sending me his love. And then she goes, oh, he's gone. I immediately pick up my phone and I Google Jesus with a red ribbon because I didn't understand that context.
Yeah, I'm guessing sash here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Jesus with a red sash. And do you know what that represents?
Something to do with his blood, Sacred Heart?
The blood.
Holy. Yeah.
The blood, Easter.
Okay.
And one of the first things that it's related to scripture-wise are the one about taking away the sins of the world.
Mm.
And it represents Jesus.
It's Good Friday, basically. It's Good Friday.
It was Good Friday.
Because he had the thorns. He obviously had the thorns too, so and the blood and everything. Wow. Yeah. Did she see the wounds, mention the wounds at all, or did you ask about it? She didn't mention the wound. She said he was just smiling at her. And I said, did he have a beard? And she looked at me. She's like, of course Jesus has a beard. Come on. When have you ever seen him shaved? Come on. But then I pulled up some pictures. It was like artist depictions of Jesus. And I pull up one where it's just a regular picture. She goes, no, that's not him. He doesn't have his red ribbon on. And I get to one with a red sash. Yeah. And he goes, that's him. She goes, that's him. And you said this is early Holy Week, so Monday, Tuesday. Oh no, it was a Saturday. So you're getting the vigil. You're getting the vigil Palm Sunday service, basically. Yes. Okay. Yes. You do hear the crucifixion. You do hear him on the donkey riding in, but then it takes you all the way through to the crucifixion. Yeah. Palm Sunday service. You just don't even know, like, how can anyone? It was so real. It was so innocent and it was so real. And she was so sure. And the fact she's moving her around like, no, he's taller. No, he's over there. No, there's no question she's seeing. We were just watching her and watching just her eyes, just like looking up and down a person. And the fact that he appeared right in front of pictures of little kids drawing of Jesus and Mary, which was actually pretty cool. A minute, 2 minutes, very, very brief. And then she just said, oh, he's gone. Mm. And what did he say anything? No, he just sent me his love. Like that was very also perfect. Just kind of popped by, said hi, love me, and left. And was just smiling at her. Wow. But and how she described, the red ribbon. I hope she always has that. Generally it does leave us. Generally we, as we get seduced into this world, but that is so precious. I know. Oh, and then so yes, our older son was like, Marin, did you really see Jesus? And she's like, yes. And he's like, well, what did his hair look like? And she's just she's like doing it's brown and it's like kind of wavy and like showing like kind of the length, like shoulder length or whatever. And he's like, I want to see Jesus. Mom, am I not special? I'm like, no, honey, it's you have Jesus all around you. Just let's not make this a big deal, buddy. It's not a competition, as we say around here. It's not a competition. It is always a competition with the siblings, always. When I was alone with her a couple of days after that, I said, I was tucking her and I was like, hey, Marin, I was like, did you really see Jesus the other day or was that just pretend? And she looks at me dead in the face and she goes, Mom, you can't lie about that. Out of the mouths of babes is like, come on. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I agree with that. Like, she sounds incredibly credible. Very credible. As far as the shadows and all of that, once Jesus showed up, did they go away? Yes.
She has not been afraid. She has not asked me to sleep with her since.
Beautiful.
When she started saying our angel shadows too, that's when I'm like, oh no, let's not. We got to get rid of this.
But your prayers and Jesus showing up says a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh, she has a couple of rosaries in her room. She has the crucifix on the wall there. We're getting her covered.
Let's pause right about here. Then more with Sarah here on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. Hey, if you happen to be in Florida, I'm going to be down there. I'm going to be down there April 23rd and 24th. It's a Tuesday and a Wednesday in Venice, Epiphany Cathedral Catholic Church, 6:30 p.m. Couple of talks, one Tuesday, one Wednesday, 23rd and 24th. It's a freebie for you. We have a link in our on our website here and in the notes here about where we're going to be, but just if by chance you're down there. Otherwise, quick Patreon shout out right here to Amy Asif. Thanks, Amy, for being a part of our Patreon family to keep this all going. Why, oh, why?
Yeah, every story gives me something to think about. And so even if it's not my story, it kind of is my story. And even when you're talking about something very serious, you still come away inspired in some way to be a better Christian, to seek God a little bit more closely. And that's what I love about it. And that's why I want to support it.
Thanks, Amy. Come here to episode 310 at touchedbyheaven.net or go to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack. Our why and why we do what we do has to do with, well, I'll tell you, it helps my faith too. It helps my trust as well. We don't always understand what God is up to, but He does. He's God. We're not. And Jesus, I trust in you. And thank you for your stories because they help build my trust. And I pray that they help build your trust as well in God, that He's here. And He continues to do incredible things, just like in the Bible. Everything we read about is still happening today, as it was in the beginning, is now. And we witness that in these episodes. And Sarah's part of that too. And I thank you, Sarah, for finding us and also being touched by these stories.
All I know is it's the most amazing, inspiring things. And it's completely what someone like myself needs to hear, which is I wasn't necessarily raised religious. I always had faith, but we, very, very rarely went to church. And I didn't really, truly find religion until 2011 or so when I was dating my boyfriend who became my husband. And I actually became Catholic a couple years after that. So yeah, it's been a fun journey, but
sounds like it.
And as screwed up as the world is, these are just like the signs that people need. These are the stories that people need, because it always draws me back in to just say, thank you, God. Thank you for everything in my life. And there is more to come.
Yeah. And I know for me, it's like, thanks for making it obvious.
Yeah, I know, right? I like the obvious stuff, and I think it's becoming more obvious, especially as more of these type of podcasts are out there. I just, this is so positive. So
as far as experiences go, did that begin before or during, after finding your way here?
Well, I would say it wasn't really until I started having kids that I've really leaned into enjoying my prayer and faith life, or living it. I think that's kind of when maybe you're paying attention more to some things.
Right.
And more things start to speak to you. Yeah. So I started seeing these numbers everywhere. And I was specifically seeing repeating numbers. And this was the first time in my life that it happened, but it caught my attention. And so I was seeing, especially 444. I kept seeing 444. 444 would be on license plates, addresses, clocks. I just randomly look, and then there would be the number. And I remember texting some friends, and I'm like, why am I seeing these numbers? This is so annoying. And of course, in the midst of all this, what else does one do but get pregnant again? So, especially COVID babies were quite popular.
Quite. Oh, what to do with our day, honey?
What to do with our day? We're home all day. So anyway, our son was born in August of 2021. When the doctor said the birth time, I almost fell off the bed. It was 4:44.
There it is again.
there it is again.
I mean, like what the 444 does. Have you looked it up? Have you seen what 4 is supposed to mean, or spiritually, or biblically? Where do you end up with?
Oh, it's a sign that I believe that one's the sign that the angels are around you, are like guiding you or with you. Yeah.
Okay. And just for good measure, let's throw in this one more story. This has to do when Sarah was finding out that her grandmother had passed away, and she was finding this out on the phone through her stepmom.
And at that moment, while I'm on the phone with her, a butterfly comes, and I'm outside with my kids. This butterfly lands directly in front of us, and I'm like, oh, there's a butterfly. And my stepmom gasped, because the number one thing that my grandma always said was how she's coming back as a butterfly and to visit everybody.
Now, you know it's not grandma, but you know it's kind of a sign from...
I know. Well, my son, my oldest son, but I have a video of that, and it was really funny, because I was like, I think that's my grandma. And he goes, and he goes, that's not your grandma. That's a butterfly. It was hilarious.
But we understand how heaven works and all of that.
It was definitely a sign. And before the butterfly flew away, it opened its wings and it showed this beautiful pattern was shown. It was just so beautiful, and it just flew away. Yeah. But it was there for about, we hung out with the butterfly for about 10, 15 minutes.
That's cool. If that represented grandma, then that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, those are some of my stories, and yeah.
By the way, as we were just talking, I just looked over to the clock of how long I've been recording, and it was 44 minutes and 44 seconds. Just saying.
No.
Just saying. What is our takeaway, Sarah?
You just never know when Jesus could be in your kitchen. Live every day like he's there. No, life is hard, but always keep your mind open and ask for a sign, ask for protection, ask for guidance. And I think you'll see it. I think more people need to ask, and they shall receive.
Yep. Amen. And there's nothing wrong. Your first answer was perfect. You never know when Jesus is in your kitchen. That just puts it right into everyone's, whether you're in the car or in the kitchen or the bedroom or the bathroom, wherever you are, there he is.
Oh yeah?
There he is.
Right up. Yeah.
Awesome.
Like I hear my son crying right now, so I'm like, oh man, I got to get going. But
okay, no worries.
Yeah,
you're a good mom.
Yeah,
you're a good mom.
But,
all right. God bless you, Sarah. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you, Trapper.
Thanks, Sarah. I love your stories, especially young Marin, and how she helps us build our trust in God, that he's God, I'm not. For the sake of his sorrowful passion, have mercy on us and on the whole world. And we pray for his mercy. We pray that our trust is increased, and by these stories, and you're helping mine, Sarah. Trust me, you are helping mine as well. We don't always see the whole picture. We don't always have all the puzzle pieces to totally understand. But somehow in all of this, he just makes something great out of even sometimes the greatest suffering. So thank you again for that, Sarah. Now, what is your story? Angelic? Prophetic? Near death? What is it for you? Let me know here at touchedbyheaven.net. Thank you for your Patreon help. Amy, what was it you said?
Every story gives me something to think about. And so even if it's not my story, it kind of is my story.
Come here to episode 310 at touchedbyheaven.net or go to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack. And again, if you're down in Florida, April 23rd and 24th in the Venice area, the Cathedral, Catholic Cathedral there, 6:30, Epiphany Cathedral Catholic Church. We'll be there, all right, 23rd and 24th. Hope to see you there. Love to meet you. In the meantime, see you next week here on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack, and why don't we all just kind of stand next to Jesus and put our arm around him, kind of like this?
No, Jesus is way taller than you.